if a recession is coming, like a lot of people are saying, how do you prepare for that?
I really do think that people are on
Okay, like
autopilot.
the robots are gonna kill us. Like,
Perception is reality. So what you came into social media wanting to feel better, but now you end up feeling worse. We have been brainwashed.
do you think your wife agrees on that?
I think.
All right, here we are with Oscar Flores. Oscar, welcome.
Good to
Nice
be
to
here.
see you again.
Good to be here.
It's been a while, right? You bought something from us a few months ago,
Yeah, I think it was maybe around the summertime last year, maybe. I
almost a
remember.
year now. You bought a dresser from us, right?
That's
You
right.
and your wife.
We were looking for a dresser for months. Couldn't find anything suitable that my wife liked. Couldn't find the right price, the right size.
Uh,
And then she found it on Facebook. It was the perfect piece.
that was a very unique piece. Now that think about it, it was a kind of green, right? Do you
Yeah,
like that style, like different pieces, or was just
it was
casual?
olive. It was an olive, like really nice green with a little bit of pink.
Hmm.
And we had a very specific bed that we were looking to match it with,
Hmm.
and we just kept looking and looking and couldn't find anything. So it doesn't exactly match, like perfectly, but it goes together.
Hmm.
Kind of like in fashion, like
Yep,
if you're a fashionista, like you would not think that it would go, but it
it
does.
does. Yeah.
So that's how it is.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that was a refurbished dresser, right? So like 10% of our furniture is refurbished. So we pick the colors when we're going to change it and make it better. And I was with my wife thinking about the color on this dresser, and we also like this kind of style and color. And she was asking me like, "Are you sure there's gonna be people that likes this color, this unique piece?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "For sure, the person is gonna show up." And you were here like a couple weeks later. Like I love the piece. I was like, "You see, I told you."
Yeah, no, it was nice. We're using it now, and it's very functional, and it's perfect. Yeah,
Awesome.
and it saved us from having a big mess in the house because our room was a big mess because we had clothes everywhere, and
We're
my wife
men.
kept
We're men.
buying.
So let me ask you something. So when you buy stuff for your home, in this case furniture, do you focus more on what you like, or something that makes you feel that peace, some history that reminds you your family, your relatives? What do you focus on when you're deciding what you're gonna put in your house?
So, um, when we bought our favorite piece is our bed, our bedroom set. Uh, it's just a bed and a night table. And the reason why I love it is because it comes from my home country, from Nicaragua.
Okay.
So it's this company called Masaya Company, and they are really focused on the environment. Their proposition is to take care of the environment. I think they plant so many trees for however many pieces they produce or whatever. And I liked it because I wanted to have a piece of home in my house. You
That's
know,
awesome.
Nicaragua. Ever since I left it, I miss it. I left Nicaragua when I was 10. So if I can get my hands on anything from Nicaragua that's unique and pretty and nice, I'll get it. Like even just having the ability to drink a coffee from my land,
Hmm.
it makes me feel like like a little bit of home is with me.
That's really
So I guess to answer your question is th- those two pieces we love, or I love because they're from Nicaragua, and they're just pleasant to look at, and they're very simplistic,
good. Hmm.
very simple lines, nothing crazy. Um, it's just simple. And for a long time, I called myself a minimalist. I
Okay.
was going through this minimalism phase
Hmm.
where I had very few possessions, personal possessions. So the pieces have a minimalist look to it. So that's probably why I like them too.
Most of the people when they buy stuff, they focus on what's trending, unconsciously or consciously. The society makes you pick what everyone likes and know
Yeah.
what you like, what's your past, what you've been through in order to like certain stuff. So I like that you say, you're attached to your roots, kind of,
Yeah.
and you decide with your wife, you decide what you want in your house based on that. So I love that. That's something.
I don't follow the trendy look. I just go. I like to go for timeless pieces. You know,
Mhm.
things that I can wear now, and 10 years from now they'll still look good. You know, and that's what I like. Things that are timeless.
That's great. That's great. How do you feel about this? Like the fact that everyone is just following what social media says, what's in the algorithm, what the internet shows you. Because I got the feeling that you know your thoughts and your ideas are mostly based on what they want to show you and know what you want to see, right? Because they're all the time hearing you, right?
Right. Right.
You don't have any privacy
Right.
anymore. So what do you how do you feel about this new reality that we're facing right now?
I really do think that people are on autopilot. Uh, People are like puppets, and I don't think people are slowing down to think much. Um, I think that people are just following the crowd, and I've never been one to follow the crowd. You know, I just like to do my own thing. Obviously, we are all influenced somehow by what we see and what we hear, right? Even when we step out, as soon as we step out the door, or now we don't even have to, right?
Mhm.
With the advent of social media, we can just be on our phones and seeing what everybody's up to. Um, and I really don't think it's very healthy for us to start looking at what other people are doing so much. Um, because everybody's unique. Everybody has different backgrounds. And a lot of people, I think, go to social media to brag, you know, and they're looking to feel good about themselves because of the likes, because of the comments. And but that is a double-edged sword because when you have the haters, when you have the trolls, when you have the people that are bashing you, then now you feel worse about yourself. So what you
Mhm.
came into social media wanting to feel better, but now you end up feeling worse because now you're letting other people dictate how you feel. I heard somebody saying once, perception is reality. So like even us, right? Like we could witness one event, and we could have a completely different view of what happened.
Mhm.
Like we could be interviewed by someone and said, "Hey, can you tell me what happened?" And your reality is could be different from mine just because we saw it from different angles.
True.
So you perceived something, I perceived something, and it might be the same event, but it's totally different. Maybe you were distracted. Maybe I was distracted myself, or who knows, right? But yeah, like reality is something that we have to be very careful with, right? And now you don't even know what to believe with the AI, you know, with people like making these videos that seem so real. Um, it's getting harder and harder to differentiate reality.
Yeah, that's getting crazy, man. That's getting crazy. And I want to ask you something related to that now that you talk about AI.
Hmm.
Um, you know, you can do pretty much anything with AI nowadays, right?
Right.
Do you think the labor is gonna be over? Like the way how people work nowadays, the way how people it's useful in society, or do you think that's gonna help people to make things better?
Mhm. I think it depends on the industry that you're in. Uh, for instance, in my industry, we were. we were talking offline. I'm an anti-money laundering analyst,
Mm-hmm.
and what I do is I review financial activity to ensure that it makes sense,
Okay.
to ensure that the activity is okay from the bank's point of view, and that the accounts are behaving in the way that we expect them to behave.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, people that are crooked and are selling drugs, trafficking people, trafficking arms, conducting fraud, they also utilize the banking system too.
Mm-hmm.
And their purpose is to wash that money. So it would be nice from my point of view as an investigator. I need to use the best tools possible. But I think we're very far, we're years away from getting rid of humans because, yeah, at least in my industry, because somebody has to analyze that data.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to look at it and say, you know what, yes, this is suspicious, or no, this is not suspicious. Um, I think what will happen sooner rather than later, is that we will need less analysts to do that, right?
Okay.
So because if we have the machine learning or the AI capturing all this data and saying, "Hey, this looks suspicious. This does not look suspicious," and it's being fed to analysts, we will go through that data much faster because a lot of our time right now is spent gathering data, like, which is the worst part for me,
Mm-hmm.
like that's the least favorite part of my job, to gather data, because we're doing it in such an archaic way.
Because we growing fast, right? Technology is going like crazy fast, more than people used to think 10, 20 years ago. Do you think we can get to the point where first, technology is smarter than us, right? Their capabilities are greater, which I think in certain things it's happening now, but in others, it's gonna take time. But also the point to where it's going to go against us somehow. I don't believe in what people say, like the robots are gonna kill us. Like, how do you think this change is gonna affect humanity in general?
Right. Well, a lot of people worry about losing their job, right? Because AI will take over or machines will replace us. But I think what needs to change is our view of work. I think that, isn't that what we want? Like, we want technology to save us time. We want technology to give us more free time so that we can spend it with our loved ones,
Mhm.
so we can spend it with our friends, so we can spend it pursuing our interests, so we can spend it enjoying nature, enjoying life. But what's happening is that we everyone is just focused on work, and work is taking away, um, you know,
Most of our time.
most of our time.
Yeah.
So I think it is going to affect us when we start losing our jobs, because then how are we gonna get paid for for anything? Because we're not gonna be doing
We're gonna
anything.
be doing
So how are
anything.
we gonna
Yeah.
earn our
Yeah, I think a few weeks ago, Venezuela's president Maduro,
Mhm.
he said he was gonna like make a law so people don't work more than 3 days per week. So based on what you're saying, do you think that way people is gonna enjoy life more than what average is, like 5, 6 days a week, or you think that's too much?
I'm gonna tell you something. When I was in Nicaragua, I would see people on the street corner, guys on the street corner. They weren't doing anything bad.
Hmm.
Not like here in the States, where, like, if you're in the street corner, you're probably dealing.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
most
these
likely.
guys were just hanging out. They were just conversating. They would have long conversations. They would laugh. Everyone was smiling. We have been brainwashed to believe that the more money we have, the happier we'll be. But it's not true. Like other things brings us happiness.
Mhm.
But we have to figure out a way that we have our basic needs covered, because those people didn't have their basic needs covered. But because they had that human interaction, they were happier. Because like here in the States, people have plenty. They have more than enough.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people complain about how little they have, but they haven't seen what me and you have seen
Yep.
in Colombia and in Nicaragua. I mean, that's poverty. That's real poverty. And other countries in the world are even worse than us, like in the African continent, right?
That's one thing, good thing that this country has, that you can be a millionaire if you want,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You don't have to be, in a rich family in order to get money.
yeah,
So that's a good thing if you see it from that point. But it is a bad thing if you see it from a different point, right? As you said, what's the purpose of life?
yeah, yeah.
Working, getting money? Yeah, that's part of it. I think you can get to a balance where you get enough money to survive and to spend with your family, but there gotta be limits.
You know what would be a great change, um, that would help society, and not just one country, but the world? And I thought about this after the pandemic.
Hmm.
When the pandemic hit, many of us were sent to work from home, right? A lot of knowledge workers,
Yep.
right? Those people that sit behind a computer. Obviously, some, somebody like a doctor or a nurse, they have to be in the hospital, they have to be in a clinic, right?
Hmm.
But I'm talking about knowledge workers. We were sent home, and that changed our mentality about work. Work became less important, and family became more important. Flexibility and having time for yourself and having time for your interests, that became more important. And now we had more time because we were no longer stuck in traffic going to the office. We were saving that time, and we had time to work out. We had time to prepare meals. We had time to have dinner with family.
Yeah.
And now people are going back to the office. A lot of
Hmm.
companies are requesting that, obligating these people to come back to the office and things of that nature, or at least have a hybrid schedule.
Hmm.
But what I really think would change the world was if working from anywhere became a possibility.
Uh-huh.
Like if employers from rich countries like the US or European nations would allow their employees to work internationally from anywhere, it would change the world.
Hmm.
Because now you would be earning high, a high income, and you would be spending it in a country that needs that income, that needs that money to flow.
Yep.
Because the reason that this country is so rich is because money is constantly flowing. We're always spending, we're always giving our money
Hmm.
to others.
That's interesting because uh, I've noticed like the biggest companies, at least in the US, they are aware of that, right? And that's why, in their environments, they're working, but they're enjoying at the same time. So I've heard about, for instance, Google, their facilities, they have like ping pong tables, like bowling. So their workers are actually satisfied with their jobs while they work. They do something else that they like.
Yeah, but I feel like that's just a lie from those companies. I'm gonna tell you why I think that. From personal experience, I worked for a company
Mm-hmm.
that built this state of the art building. It was a beautiful building, state of the art, the latest technology. It was great. When you walked in, you felt good. The environment was great.
Uh-huh.
Like you felt important because you felt like a big deal
Okay.
because the building was beautiful. They had fancy coffee machines, they had games, they had virtual golf, they had virtual golf, bowling. But you didn't have time to do it. You didn't have time to enjoy those facilities because they expected you to work. You don't go there to play. You don't go there to spend time with people. You go there to work. It's a lie. It's basically something that companies do to make you think that they really care about you and that
Mhm.
you're gonna love working there and that you're gonna have fun working there. But they don't let you.
Nothing is real. That's what I
Nothing's
feel.
real.
Nothing is real.
Yeah.
So everything is about money. I got the feeling that when you meet someone at this, streets, before they ask you your name, they ask you what you do and how much you get, right? How much you earn.
Or
And how you,
they ask you what you do, and if they're respectful, they won't ask you, but they kind of make a number in their head, right?
yeah.
They will be like, oh, okay, so this guy is probably making 100,000 or whatever.
It shouldn't be like that. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be like that. In our countries, that doesn't happen, right?
No.
If we talk about South America countries, Central America, that's not the way you see people, right?
Yeah,
You
we
see people how they treat you. You see people how they,
how fun they are to be
how
around.
fun they are. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's a shame, but that's the place we live in, and I think it has like a lot of beautiful things as well. You got two faces in the same coin, right? So you can see life as a tragedy, right?
Hmm.
Or you can see life as an opportunity.
Right.
In this case, you can see this country in both ways.
Oh yeah,
This country offers a lot of good stuff.
for sure.
I came here like 7 to 8 years ago, and the opportunities were everywhere. I
Exactly.
first got to Connecticut, then I moved to New York, and then I moved here to Florida. And in the three states, I've had like more opportunities that I had in 26 years in Colombia.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Mm.
And even like I think about the fact that if I had stayed in Nicaragua,
Mhm.
I would have stayed in Nicaragua. Maybe would have gone to Costa Rica, which is right next door. Maybe Honduras,
That's the
but
farthest.
that's as far as I'm gonna go, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because of lack of money. But living in this country has allowed me to travel the world.
Mhm.
I've been to Europe, I've been to Asia, I've been to other Latin American countries.
Now, let me ask you a question. You're an analyst, right?
Right.
How do you see the current situation? Since President Trump is in power,
Hmm.
a lot of stuff are going on, right? Economy is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna say it's bad, but it's crazy, right? We don't
Yeah.
know yet with
Uncertain.
tariffs and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you work for like banks, right?
Yeah. I work for a bank.
And do you think we're going, backwards? Do you think the country is going to improve just as our president says?
Ever since I have reasoning ability, ever since I was a young child, people have been worried about governments and how they handle things. And there's always been praising and criticism, always. There's always flaws in the system and in the way of governing. And I think this current system or this current administration is the same as previous administrations. And life is definitely perceived to be too expensive today, right? So I really think that it's just the same thing,
Same
but
pattern.
it's the same pattern,
Mhm.
but it's just different enough, and it's just different characters.
I think everyone want to know what steps you take. How do you prepare for a recession, for instance? If a recession is coming, like a lot of people are saying pretty soon, how do you prepare for that? What are you doing in your present to ensure your future is going to be okay if
Okay,
something like this
that's a
happens?
good question. So I am a thinker, and you mentioned in your previous question, you talked about banks. Banks are super important to the economy of this country and the world's economy. I don't think people understand how important banks are, how powerful banks are. Banks are crucial. They're they're crucial to the pulse of the economy worldwide, right? Now, if you, as a banker, right, I've been working for a bank since 2005. So I've been in the banking world for many, many years. You have to think is the organization that I belong to, is the bank that I work for, if you're a banker, strong? And just you can use metrics to answer that question. Like, for instance, I work for a bank that is in the top 10 of the most powerful economic nation in the world. I work for a bank that is in the top 10. What does that mean? It means that that bank cannot fail. If it fails, it will have repercussions on the economy and here in the US
Worldwide.
and worldwide. It's that bank is super important. The bank that I work for is super important for the
Mhm.
economy. And it's so important that the US government will not let it fail. They will bail them out like they did back in 2008. Remember
Mhm.
that? A lot of banks were bailed out. Why? Because they were super important for the infrastructure, for the economic infrastructure of this country. So as a banker, I feel good working for that institution.
Mhm.
I know that it will not fail, that the US will not let that bank fail. But I have to, as a thinker, take it one step further. Am I an asset to this company? Because no bank is safe from layoffs, firings, restructuring of its employees. So I have to make sure that I invest in my knowledge. I read books. I network with the with fellow employees, people above me, people peers, people below me, and I network with people outside of the organization too.
Is your wife okay with that thought? Do you think your wife agrees on that, or she sees life in a different way, in this like present in a different way?
I think my wife trusts me and how I kind of handle myself in this environment. And, she's in an industry that will never go away either. She's a dental hygienist.
Okay.
So everyone will always need their teeth cleaned and,
Mm-hmm.
it's like people that are nurses or doctors, people will always need that, right? So she feels secure with that. But I think that has a she's more like worried about having fun.
Uh-huh.
I think she's way more relaxed than I am. Like,
Okay.
I'm always thinking, just like
What's gonna
keeping up with
happen in the
following it
future?
with the current events and things like that. She has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, maybe because she feels like you're in control,
Maybe
right? So she kind of feels maybe like
she
the
can
way,
just kind of sit back
yeah,
and
yeah, like chill.
yeah.
Oscar is gonna solve it.
Maybe so.
He's the analyst, so
Maybe so.
he'll do a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me ask you the last question, Oscar.
Yeah.
Um, so based on everything we've talked so far, what will be that change that you will make um, in society in general? Uh, what do you think will be that change that humanity needs in order to continue improving and growing?
It's gonna sound very cliche, but I do believe that the most powerful force is the quality of love. We have to love each other, and we have to start by loving ourselves. And the ultimate love that not a lot of people like to talk about now is love of God. Like, if you love God, you will do the things that He asks from you. And what does God ask from us? To be kind, to be patient, to not be angry towards others, to not be envious of others, to treat others with respect. So I do think that if we could just all work on the quality of love, a lot of things would be so much easier, and our life would be a lot more fulfilling. Our lives would be a lot happier.
That's the change world needs. Yeah,
We would be happy. We would have peace. We definitely would have peace.
yeah, and we need it. We
Yeah.
need it. All right, Oscar, thank you so much for being here with us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you
Hopefully
for
we
having me.
can do this again pretty soon.
Yeah.